All right, Tide Talk with Webb is back. Got a special guest on today, Stuart Stevens from the Saturday Standard Podcast. We're excited. We're going to be going over offensive line coaching, improvement in that area, the two quarterback battles between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, and then the two tales of Ryan Grubbs. What subject would you like to start on first?
Let's save the quarterback battle for last. Let's
do it.
Let's make this substance, and we can stop in the bottom up from what you said.
All right, we'll go with the tale of two Ryan Grubbs.
Yeah, good. Good.
I did not pull the stats he had from Washington. They had one of the top offensive, obviously, units in the country at that time at Washington. He had Michael Penix, which was a quarterback previously of the sitting national champion, Indiana. Now, I pulled his stats from 2024. He was hired in February of 24 and then fired January of 25 with the Seattle Seahawks. His overall offensive rank was 18th out of 32 teams, so a little bit, it's not too great. His rushing offensive score rank was 15th. His overall offensive scoring rank was 15th. Rushing offense rank was 28th, and his passing was 20th. So he was kind of mid-tier with that. Like I said, it wasn't anything amazing. And then they finished the season with a 10-7 record, averaged 22 points a game. And then obviously Seattle's run game struggled, ranking near the bottom of the league, 28th yards a game. What are your thoughts?
My initial thoughts are that team is primarily made up of the exact same players as that team previously. And then what are the stats say from the stats you just mentioned for this year? I mean, it hasn't been that long, and Jackson and Bunga, whatever, I think that's how you say his last name, but that guy is a freak of nature. I didn't even know who he was last year. So that, to me, is initially alarming. I think that DeBoer might have this, he has these relationships with these coaches who he's coached with previously, and I think that might, and I hate to say it, but I think that might have a little bit of, easier to justify why it's not working rather than why it is. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, I will say this. I really liked his, he knew what was wrong. He had to fire the offensive line coach and Coach Cap. I did an extensive video, I'm sure that some people saw on his statistics and how bad he was. And he really was not even anybody would even be on my radar. I'd rather hire two guys from Division II or the FCS that were really good and put them together than do that. You could have got a better bang for your buck. He never improved. And to be fair, I'm not going to lay this all on DeBoer, and I'm not going to lay it all on Coach Cap, because these problems were very prolific Saban's last 2.5 years. We were not good at rushing.
No. And I think that it was, I think that in Saban's last season, something that I've mostly found out, mostly seen for myself in retrospect, obviously, since he retired, is that Jalen Milroe, the way he ran, I think that often muddies up the waters when you think about how good our team is rushing, because there's a difference between him taking off when he sees the time and the opportunity than it is with actually running a planned out run play, which is what you have to have when you're running a pass offense, which everyone does.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that. Milroe really hid the lack of ability of that offensive line, or maybe it was the coaching, maybe it was a combination that they had. And so did, the two quarterbacks before them, especially, and it really showed because they were so mobile. And like I said, it was a growing problem. It did not get better. Now, I think Tommy Rees and his genius, and I didn't like the hire early, but after 3 games, I was sold, because every game he was like Kiffin and he was like McElwain. He would sit there and plan for each game, and he would find weaknesses and then make the quarterback do that. And he brought quarterbacks along, and he really coached really, really well in that aspect. and I kind of wish we'd have just kept him as our offensive coordinator. But I think Grubb can get there. The only knock I've had on Grubb is I feel like, and I think he will get better, is he relies heavily on the pass. If the run doesn't work, he backs off and leaves it alone, and then it makes us really one dimensional. And I think when he looks at a game, he's like, well, these 20 plays worked the last game. We'll just use them again and keep throwing them out there. He doesn't, he's not really quick to change a game plan if something's not working, which is concerning.
Nope, it comes across as lazy. Honestly, I mean halftime adjustments, you know the prep that you have before you play your opponent. I think that those things are absolutely they're insurmountable. I mean, like it's perfectly set for Kirby Smart in the SEC championship. You know, Jesus, were they prepared? Alabama just was not prepared. They have all the talent there. They proved it in the beginning of the season when we beat them in their place. It's just they just weren't. They were lacking in every single offense, especially offense, even defense, really. But I mean, more so offense because you have to go for it on fourth down because we're already behind, and then you give them easy field positions. You can't blame all that on the defense, but you can't blame it all on anyone entirely. But I mean, Jesus, man, I just have never seen an Alabama team um, look like that ever because I don't think we've been very spoiled in the fact that doesn't really ever happen in our generation. But man, it was that one hurt. And then the Indiana game, I was pretty much already numb. Like I thought that even the comeback against Oklahoma, I still thought we were close to toast against Indiana.
Yeah, I did too. And the thing that gave me confidence against Oklahoma was their QB had a propensity. He was last year's version of Carson Beck. His last year at Georgia, he was averaging 2.5 to 2.3 ints a game, and a lot of them went to the house. So that made me feel good. Like I said, the thing is, and we had a really good passing attack. But the thing is, when you play really good teams like Georgia, well, they're like, well, we know you can't run. We know you can't line up man against man and even get 100 yards. So, we're going to just pin our ears back on a cover shell too. And
Yep.
good luck. Good luck. Yep. And now, not all this is Grubb's fault. Like, don't get me wrong. But I think that's where the new hire in Adrian Clem will come in because we've seen it in New England, we've seen at Oregon, we've seen wherever he's been, he's eventually made them a really good offensive running team. I'm not asking for, I don't think anybody wants to be number one rushing team in the SEC because who was that? Arkansas. Nobody wants that record. Like, and I'm not being mean to Arkansas. It's just what
insane,
it is.
Right? That's just a statistical.
We need 100 to 120 yards a game average period to win in the SEC. You need that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. When I think about Arkansas, one thing I did, I think I did it close to the end of the regular season this past season, and I went back and I looked at Arkansas's win and loss column, and I looked at their margin of loss, and it was so. I don't think I've ever seen it to be so little. They just couldn't finish games. They were playing these games outright like very well, and then they just could not, put the gas on at the end. And that what that does to me is it takes a very talented team, and I hope that it gives them that confidence boost going into next season. But it makes me think like all this talent, and they're barely losing on, they're heartbreak after heartbreak, and that's, that to me is something I notice as well.
No, and I agree. And Grubbs, and I want him to prove me wrong, and I want him to do great next year, and I'm behind him. And I think too, when you look at the stats last year, I mentioned it. Some of these stats I looked up today were not super accurate, I don't think. But I know last year, at the end of the season, we were out of 132 FBS teams, we were 120th in rushing. We weren't even averaging 100 yards a game. Now this stat says we were about 47th in rushing, averaging 173 a game and rushing. I know that's not even close to being true.
No, it's not. No.
And like I said, but I know the stats I looked up last time we were bottom of the tier, like very, very bad. Yep. Now we average about 34 points a game offensively, which is pretty good output. But the problem that really gets you is is when you have to rely on that all the time, and I knew we were in trouble against Indiana, all credit to them. When we're early in the game, I think it was first quarter, maybe early second, we're going for it inside our own 30 on fourth,
Yep.
and we're trying to trick them with like, oh, we're going to run. Oh, no, we're going to like, no, that's not going to work, guys. Just kick the ball. Now Grubb was very good when he got inside the red zone. It was 96% accuracy,
Very
and
good.
we would score.
Yeah.
But
Very
the
good.
run game to be successful and even make a deep run, as Miami proved, or Indiana, or anybody, you got to be balanced. Like, period. Even when it comes down to having Ole Miss, they were balanced, and that's one thing that it was sorely lacking in us. And teams could just pin their ears back, run a cover two shell high or a safety over the top, and it didn't matter. And that's what really hurt. Now, I think Grubb, what's going to help him is having the expertise of Clem and putting them together, and then maybe also hiring another run game coordinator and getting him more confident. If we can give him more confidence, and that leads into the next point. I don't care what anybody says. The Alabama running back room is stocked. Yes, some of it's very young.
Dude, I
You just
agree.
need a damn line. Like, we need some guys to block. I said it in multiple videos. I beat it to death. I'm sure people are sick and tired. But when you've got people pulling and stunting and they don't know who the hell to block, that's a coaching problem. Like, you would see them, they look
Absolutely.
like the Three Stooges. You're like, what? Did you not know who to block? You got, and God love him. I love Jan Miller. Always been a Jan Miller fan. In the Indiana game, I saw him several times. I saw him once do it in the Georgia game. Defensive end is coming around. He pulls up. Don't block.
Yeah, he pulls back.
If,
I know. He
if you're
hesitation.
going to be like that, I don't want your ass on the field.
He's
Like, sit on the
juking a
sideline with
defender.
cheerleaders.
He's juking a defender, and he doesn't even have the ball. He's supposed to run block. Yeah, trust me, I know. I've seen it too. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the little things can lead to a better offense. I think what's his name, Nix from Auburn,
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver when Jamal Shepard got the other job, Jamarcus Shepard. Um, I think having him in Alabama, I thought that having him there was going to get us. That's a whole other topic. It's done and over with Cam Coleman. But what are your thoughts on the transfer portal on offense at least?
I thought, you mean overall or what Alabama got?
Oh, Alabama overall.
Overall in Alabama. Okay, I will say what we really needed was not a ton of skill players. We needed a wide receiver, which I think we got in Noah Rogers, honestly, from the stuff he put up. He's not as big as, let's say, Isaiah Horton. Isaiah Horton hurt. He was the only one that left that I thought hurt because he was that go-to guy, that big body guy. But you've also got sitting in there Meadows, who got hurt and wasn't able to play the rest of the year. He's a 6'6", 6'7" guy. He can be that guy, right?
Yep.
I thought we got all the guys we needed. I thought we got 3 late additions at the wide receiver positions that were amazing. And one of them's a true 4-3 guy. So he's going to help out, in my opinion, in the special teams for kickoffs and punts, right?
Yep.
Alabama does not play that, and I know a lot of people are going to get offended, excuse my language, that bullshit game that Texas plays and Texas A&M and, some of these teams were getting some of the, massive rosters. Well, ask Texas Tech and Texas how those massive rosters and all that money's panning out. It's not, because Indiana won last year. Yes, they're more of a roster team, but Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, the last 3 winners of the national championship game, all had guys that played together for 3+ years, all of them. And
Yep.
Indiana they had what, 1 4-star. So
Yep.
just because you go spend money on Cam Coleman, which one of my contacts told me at Auburn that he's cancer to a locker room. So why do you want him? And not only that, yes, it is nice to have some of those guys, and it is nice to pepper those guys in. But going out there like Texas A&M, the last 2 years, they've had the heaviest and one of the most expensive rosters in the country. It ain't doing shit. Georgia,
No.
Ohio State, and Alabama want those high school guys because you can develop them and then pay them as they develop, like we did this year and how we spent money, right? Now we needed, it was only returning lineman we have is Michael Carroll. We needed to dive deep and get defensive line and offensive line. That's what we did. Now, I think we got some good guys. Everybody's poo-pooing them off and, oh, they're not that good and all this. Well, can you name For $1 million, name 2 starting linemen for Indiana right now.
Exactly. You
Do you,
can't.
I mean, I guarantee you, come out of high school, nary a one of them was a 4-star. I promise you
No,
that.
they're
So
well
it comes
coached and
down to, can you
developed.
scout and can you coach?
Yep.
And now, do I? I'm old school. I'm almost 43. I don't like the portal in general. Now, I think these young men need to get paid. Don't get me wrong, but there needs to be some rules. There needs to be a salary cap. It's getting nuts. It's getting honestly frustrating, even as a fan, even if your team brings in that stuff, to watch this slop. And just because you bring in the best talent, God love them. I think LSU will be a good team this year. Just because you bring all that talent doesn't mean you're going to win.
It's turning into exactly what Nick Saban feared the most. And I think he got out at the right time. I think he got out at a good time for his coaching style, which I think is kind of, in reference to what you're talking about. Because, I mean, that Nick Saban football was the only football that I knew. Just like, you hear Miss Terry talking about, being in the living rooms and these areas of their house where they brought kids in and recruited them and made them believe in something bigger than themselves. And I heard the same thing about Cam Coleman. Just when you put a dollar sign to it, man, it really, really, it it changes things. It always does for anything and absolutely everything. Money changes things, and you know their perspective, the player's perspective, wanting to provide for their families, and but what when are they going to say like enough isn't like too much? Like you're already doing way too much. Like we need to figure out a way to put a salary cap. We need to be like the NFL. I thought that I said that in a video I posted before this past season even started was that if you're gonna name image likeness, we need to have a set of guidelines, rules, something. I mean, instead you give us a committee for something that should work itself out on the field, and I really don't get.
Well, it's even gotten out of hand, and I know I've ranted on this before. Just like, I don't know who Notre Dame paid off for them to say, the college committee to say, oh yeah, that's fine. I guarantee those guys all got new lake houses somewhere, because when you literally told Notre Dame in writing, yeah, that's fine as long as you finish top 10. I think it's top 10, maybe 12. I think it's top 10. Yeah, you're in the playoffs, and it's like you play bums. You play a bunch of elementary schools, play no conference in any conference whatsoever. And, honestly, like they were saying today, I think the Alabama Ohio State game needs to get canceled for both of us, because if the committee, all they look at wins and losses and the strength of schedule is pretty much not there, screw it.
Yep,
Like,
agreed.
I think the SEC, honestly, needs to go to no conference game anymore, no conference championship game. Let's figure out the math at the end of the season, be done with this shit, be over it.
Yep, I agree with you because there are people who are still holding on. I agree with you 100%, man, who are still holding on to the conference championship as a pride thing. As it's something that it was in the past tense, something you have these bragging rights for. I don't see it anymore. Even if they still play at the game, it's not there. I mean, it's just not there. And it's the top 12, by the way. Yes, you're right. It's the top 12. All they have to do is finish in the top 12, and um, that's just they're just getting special treatment. I mean, as they have been, except for this past year. Uh, and then people were, and I loved, I loved when Miami went on this run, because all the criticism and hate that I got from me saying Miami was going to be something special throughout this playoff, and it was just Notre Dame fans. It was, you know, it's just crazy to me. It's just I was bombarded just with hate because of saying that I thought Miami deserved to be in, over Notre Dame, because I don't know, because they played on the field this season against each other, and Miami won that game. I mean, it's really not that hard to it's 1+1=2. I'm not really
That was the toughest team they played all year, and they beat them. And it's just like, yeah, and I'm with you. Like, Notre Dame was good, but they were not. You put them in the SEC, they're probably 9-4, 9-5, maybe. They're not that great. Now, they've got a lot of money. They got they got a ton of money and whatnot, but they have not been relevant really since what 2012, and even then, they played bums then and just lucked out, and that's what it was. And so, and like that's fine. Let them go to the playoffs and get beat every year. I don't care. Let JMU beat them. I don't even care anymore. But it is what it is. I think it's pathetic. They should have to join some. And honestly, you're a bunch of losers because the Big Ten would let you come on in. That's where you should, because you're in Indiana,
Yeah,
in
they
South
already
Bend.
tried.
Your ass
Yep.
should be in the Big Ten playing actual real teams like Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon and all that, and Indiana. You should be playing, but they don't want to do it because they know they'd sustain about 4 losses a year, and they know
I
that.
know. I mean,
So,
and poor Ryan Day, man. Poor Ryan Day. That schedule for him is brutal, my guy. Oh my goodness.
mhm.
I went back and looked, and just the away games. It's the away games for them that are, to me, are just brutal. I noticed. I was looking at the schedule for the top, 20 teams, and yeah, I mean, at Indiana, even with a new quarterback, I mean, Josh Hoover, like you said, he's got some time under his belt. Kirk Cignetti is Kirk Cignetti. Google him, he wins. So I don't know. I
Now,
think
what's
that's going
your
to be fun.
before we get to the last subject? What's your thoughts on Alabama's upcoming schedule for the 2026 season?
I like it. I like that. I like that we have Florida State again early. Uh, because I know. I hope that they come with some fierce, you know, just force because of what happened and the humiliation of this past year. Uh, Everything else about it, I like it. I mean, I like it in comparison to some of the other SEC schedules. I think it's preferable to those.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Our toughest month, isn't it? Is it November? If I'm correct, it's like four
It's
back to back to
November.
back teams.
Yeah, it's November, and then we have two back-to-back away games that are, uh, I think, right before Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure right before Tennessee we play. I have to double check. I'm not considered, but
Yeah, I know
one.
November is kind of like a murderer's row for us again, which is fine. We'll make it happen. Um, and like I said, one thing I thought was interesting that I did not know, a quick tidbit, was that they were Gus Malzahn, sorry, brain fart. Gus Malzahn was actually they tried to hire him at Bama. Saban tried to hire him. I didn't know that. That was a new one on
Yeah,
me. I was reading the article and I was like, whoa. And I can't remember why. I'm probably gonna do a video on it later, but he didn't. He turned it down. I forgot why he turned it down. I think he was at Arkansas as the offensive coordinator or something, or maybe he was at Arkansas State as the head coach again. Um, and he turned him down. And he said, I don't know why I turned him down. He said it would have been a good run. I think because a lot of people said, oh, Saban was uninnovative, and it's like, look at his offensive coordinators. That's not true.
yeah,
And I just thought it was very interesting seeing those two. If those two would have worked together on the sidelines, and I'm sure Malzahn
yeah,
won't say, but he said, I don't even know why I turned him down. I don't know why. It was a good offer, and I think Malzahn knows he'd have won at least one ring, 100% with Saban during that span of
yeah.
time.
Can you imagine winning two rings and then being the two teams that are the biggest rivalry in college?
That would have just been incredible. Him and Saban working together. Um, but let's get on to the big issue of the day, which is the big quarterback battle that is looming for the spring and summer
Yes, sir.
ball. I'll go with Keelan Russell first. Now, Keelan Russell, total high school stats were pretty eye popping: over 7,000 yards, 90 touchdowns, 418 completions for 586 balls thrown, which is a 71.3 completion ratio. Yards per game, he averaged 256. These were from Max Preps varsity totals.
Yep.
Year by year breakdown, his senior and junior year. He played 14 games, completed 238 passes, 4,000 yards. He had a 69 completion percentage rating, 55 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I thought that was a very interesting stat. Very good.
Yeah.
Um, he also had a QB rating of 145.4. He rushed 33 times for 300 yards, about 9 yards a carry. He's a pretty quick guy for 3 TDs. Now, he played basically their version of 6A football. His junior year, he played 15 games. He completed 180 passes out of 200 plus yard or 200 plus attempts. He got 3,000 yards passing. He got a 74% completion rating, 35 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His longest pass was 75 yards. He rushed 54 times, or a little bit higher, for 300 yards, 5 yards of carry, 4 TDs. Um, like I said, he played 6A ball in high school.
Duncanville. Duncanville. It's close to where I live. I mean, it's not close. It's like a couple hours down the road from where I live right now. Yeah,
Now,
the kid is a freak of nature,
now
man.
for him, I'm sorry. One last point, and I'll let
No,
you
go
roll
ahead.
with it.
No, go ahead.
For him, I thought was very interesting was, we've talked about the offensive line at nauseam. We've talked about they got to block better, and this is even in passing. I mean, them not blocking in passing scenarios got Simpson hurt for the playoffs. That's a fact. Um, he brings an interesting dynamic to the offensive line. So if the offensive line is porous, he can move. He's more mobile in the pocket, which will help. Now we're hoping this is going to get more shored up, so we don't have to lean on that. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are when Jalen Milroe against, I think it was against South Florida. He played pretty poorly early on. This is Nick Saban, 2023, I believe. Or no, yeah, 23. It was like the third game of the season. It's been Jalen Milroe, but Coach Nick Saban said, we're going to go with Ty. And then Ty was quickly taken out, and Jalen went back in. It's interesting because I feel as if we're going to lose one of these guys. And I feel like Keelan Russell is the future of Alabama football. I think he is I think that he is going to be Austin Mack. As good as he is, and God bless him, man, for sticking with DeBoer as long as he has. Um, it's like it's kind of one of those if you had to lose one situations. If you had to lose one, I'm sorry. Austin Mack is older. Keelan's got more room to develop. He's already an elite. He's already elite enough to play. The flashes that we saw from him this past season are phenomenally good. So yeah, man, it sucks to say that because I love them both. I think Austin Mack, by the time the spring ball comes around, I think that he might be better. Like he might be more ready up here mentally. I think that might be the case, but Keelan might have to start learning quicker when he gets on the field. You learn faster when you're actually doing it, and especially in the SEC. So I do think it'll be Keelan, and I do think that that's the.
Yep. No, I agree. Like I said, I do think, as we look at Austin Mack, he brings a different dynamic. Now, he brings a dynamic, in my opinion, kind of like, the Georgia quarterback who played at, Miami this past year. He's more of a statue. He can't run. He played at a big high school, Folsom High School in California.
Mm-hmm.
In his career stats here, he's got 304 completions out of 447. So he's at 68% passer rating. He had 3,800 yards, 42 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, so which is a little bit higher. He did rush. He had 106 carries for 58 yards, so he cannot run. Like we know that.
Yeah.
He's a massive man, but by God, he can't run.
No.
Like I said, it's like, ooh boy. Like I said, I don't know. He's in his junior year, he had very similar stats, pretty much identical to that. But it just I don't know, like, and not trying to be mean. I think he's more of a statue. He's a pocket passer. He's got an arm. The thing that's concerning with him, and I'm like you, one of them will have to go at the end of the year next year for the portal. And the thing is, he's been in the system with Grubb or DeBoer
Right.
for 3 years. You couldn't even beat out Ty Simpson. And you had, in my opinion, you had better skills and better physical skills than Ty Simpson, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's a good point. That is a really good point, which
And
makes me
really,
question his game prep and stuff.
yeah, and you have been, and I'm not questioning his game prep or anything like that. I thought he had more physical tools than Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is quicker, obviously, we know that, but he had a bigger arm, stronger, probably about 40 to 50 pounds heavier, more muscle, and you still didn't get the starting job, and you've been in the DeBoer system for 3 years where Ty Simpson had not. And so he knew the playbook. I personally think, because we don't know what the line's going to be, the offensive line. Um, we don't know that going forward or the run game. You may need a little shake and wiggle in there. And Keelan Russell, in my opinion, is the future of Bama football. Now it'll come down to the spring, who makes better decisions, who's hitting the deep balls consistently, who's hitting the short intermediate routes, who make better decisions. We know that. I'm like you. I think Keelan Russell's the future. And I'm sorry, I don't think you want him slipping off in the portal and going to Texas Tech or Indiana or whatever. Because if my
No,
opinion, if Austin Mack was going to do it, he should have done it this past year.
dude, I agree, and I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to let anything risk losing Keelan. I just don't. I don't see it. Um, and the NIL stuff, the money, it it's hard to say that it can't go both ways. I mean, you think about how loyal Austin Mack has been, but loyalty isn't to any one thing anymore. I mean, you probably should have hit the draft last year. I don't know, man. I agree with you. I think there's got to be some sort of contrast between Austin Mack's abilities and why he wasn't starting over Ty Simpson. Because I agree with you, he's bigger. I thought that he was better before Ty started, and I just the Austin Mack that I saw in the regular season, the garbage time that I did see him, it's a beast. But
And the thing is, too, we've got, and I think he thought Austin Mack was going to get in the portal because I think that's why he brought two quarterbacks in this past class. He brought one highly rated one. He's got Elijah Havens, another 5-star that's really looking at. So it's like, and it's the pressure's on those gentlemen that's going to get that quarterback slot. Right now, if I'm just guessing, I mean, you could say, well, he's been in the system 3 years. Well, why didn't he do it last year? Why didn't he get the job? He had all the skills and he had better physical skills. I think that Keelan Russell, unless he has an absolute garbage time spring and summer ball, I think Keelan Russell's where it's at. I think he wins it.
yeah, agreed.
Well, man, we've been on here almost 35 minutes. Had a great podcast. Thanks for coming on. We got to do it again. The next one we'll do it on yours, and we'll rock it out. Appreciate you, man. And I'm gonna go ahead and edit this, and I'll tag in it, and you'll see the clips shortly.
All right, man. Roll Tide, roll, man. Thanks
Roll
for
Tide,
having me
brother.
on. Thanks for having me on, man.